Jeff, okay, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here and for this interview, having you as a couple and to talk to our Latino voters about what are you doing in this election coming in
Mhm.
November and what you want to say about your Latino roots and how you can tell what you've been doing for Latino voters. And mostly at the same time as a family, because I think you share values, ideas, thoughts. You support each other.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having us. We're happy to be here today. I've been a member of the community here in Arizona for 30 years now. And as a mother, I'm really worried about the future for our kids. We have a 19 and 20-year-old, and we met here in Arizona. We got married in Arizona, raised our kids here, and we're moving in the wrong direction. Obviously, we have a wide open border. We have crime surging on our streets. Our economy is in the toilet right now. And the Democrats are voting to make things worse. And we need a big change. And that change is going to come in November. And I believe that beautiful thing is the Latino voters are recognizing that, whoa, we saw life under President Trump. And whether we liked him or didn't, the economy was strong. Our streets were safer. Things were better. And now we see the Democrats fully in control. And the country's moving in the wrong direction. And so I think there's a really stark choice. There's a stark choice between me and Ruben Gallego, who I'm running against. This is somebody who's voted for these dead end policies of Joe Biden 100% of the time. So if you think things are going great, if you think you like the wide open border, you like the crime on the streets, you love the high inflation where we can't afford anything, then you might like him. But if you think things are going in the wrong direction for your family, I know they are for our family, then we got to make a change on November, and that's when we need to start voting for America First Republicans.
What how challenge is for you to support Kerry Lake in those these recent years that she's been involved, well, looking to be a governor now, looking to be the next Senate. How's for you to support her and to be at the same time taking care of the kids, maybe when she's busy traveling? How difficult is for you?
It's not a challenge. I support her 100%. It is occasionally a grind, and occasionally we don't get enough sleep, but we are doing everything we can to support her, along with the kids. Everybody's in it 100%.
That's it. That's good.
Well,
Well,
thankfully, though, our kids are 19 and 21, so they don't need as much TLC and tender loving care. If my
you
kids
have
were,
a girl and a boy.
yes,
Okay.
Ruby is our oldest and Leo is our youngest, and had they been any younger, I don't know that this would be possible. But God helped me make a courageous step when I walked away from my career in news. I felt that the news was not being honest with people, and I took a bold step to walk away from a very lucrative job. I'd been here at covering Arizona for 27 years at the
Yeah.
time. I was in the middle of a seven-figure contract, and I just realized that the news that was being put out wasn't the full truth, and I wasn't interested in misleading people. So I stepped away from that career, and the people of this beautiful, great state who had invited me into their homes for 3 decades, they said, would you please run for office? We need someone who we trust, who understands the issues, who's been in our homes, who will represent us. And that's when I made the move to say, all right, I'm going to step into politics. And boy, have we tipped over the apple cart. Because I'll tell you what, some of the corrupt people in Washington, D.C., they don't want a mom. They don't want a mom who's fed up going to Washington, D.C. and pushing back against the corruption. But that's exactly what we need. That's why I'm endorsed by President Trump. That's why I have the endorsement of so many fighters out there in our movement who want to make sure that we bring back common sense solutions to these problems. Law and order on our streets. We want to be able to go into the stores and make sure the stores are still there. They're not being, shoplifters going in and clearing them out. We want to make sure that inflation is not shooting up, but it's tamped down so that when we go and we work hard all day, we can then go to the grocery store and afford to bring home groceries for our families.
Talking about immigration, your mom is a Colombian woman. So how you came to this country? She met your father here. How is your history of a migrant coming to the U.S. or you were born here? Could you explain us more a little bit?
Right. I was born here. My mom came back in the late 60s to Chicago. Met my dad there. She went there for job opportunities, and then she was there. She met him. They got married. They started their life, and then years later, she became a citizen of the United States as well. So, all that time, we would travel and visit family in Colombia, and then we'd have some family visit up here. It was always just amazing to have that kind of an upbringing of two different cultures. And I actually, my first language was Spanish. That's what we spoke at home. My abuelita and my mom. My grandmother only spoke Spanish, and so I picked that up first, and then I picked up English watching Sesame Street. And
What do you
Electric
think
Company.
about the situation at the border with the migrants happening right now and with the Joe Biden policies?
Well, that's a bit different than how my mom came over, and I think a lot of people we run into now on the campaign trail who are citizens and who have gone through quite a rigorous process to become citizens legally see what's happening, and it is absolute chaos. I mean, 10 million people coming through, maybe 12 million, and our country can't support that.
Mhm.
And her Kerry's policies as when she was running for governor and now for Senate, to secure that border. I mean, it's the easiest, quickest thing we can do. And I think it's very evident to everybody that she has the right solution to this problem, just as President Trump does.
Well, and I know, Leon, you've been here for 7 years now, and I think that means you probably showed up when President Trump was in office. And I covered the state for 27 years, and we were always saying our border is wide open. We need help. And we had this short little window under President Trump where he actually did help us secure the border, so we didn't have people just pouring across. And now under Joe Biden, it's gotten to the point, like Jeff said, 10 million. Some estimates are 12 or 15 million. People pouring in, not from Mexico, not just Mexico. As a matter of fact, you ask a Border Patrol officer, they will tell you it's rare when somebody comes in from Mexico. These people are coming in from 170 different countries. Down in Nogales, they have to have a translator, Google Translator on their phone because they are having people come from countries they've never heard of, languages they've never heard of. There's no room anymore. They're pouring in by the tens of thousands every week. We're putting them up in housing that we don't have. We don't have enough housing for our citizens that are already here, and we're paying for that. Every paycheck that you work to earn, that everyone in Arizona works to earn, a little bit it goes out, obviously goes to the federal government. The federal government is taking that money and we're funding people, 12 million of them, coming here illegally, giving them job permits. And when we give 12 million people job permits coming here in the last few years under the Biden invasion, as I call it, what does that do? It hurts the lower class and middle class people who are already here. It drives their wages down because 12 million people coming in, guess what? They're willing to work for peanuts. And that means as hard as we work, no matter how hard you work, your wages are being driven down by that. On top of that, inflation is shooting up. And so we are struggling just to get by. My opponent, Ruben Gallego, doesn't understand it. He voted for a $1 trillion tax hike. I can't even fathom what $1 trillion is. I imagine if we filled this entire building with money, it still wouldn't, there wouldn't be enough space for what $1 trillion is. He voted for a tax hike for citizens and businesses. And then he actually authored legislation that would have increased our gas prices by an additional $1 a gallon. This is unsustainable. This is somebody who doesn't understand the struggle.
Well, maybe
of
you
people.
have a similarity with Ruben Gallego in this topic because when I interviewed him some months ago, he told me that once that he was at the border, he was talking with people who crossed the border illegally, and they were not interested in asylum. They knew that once that they were here, they're gonna get some benefits. And in some way, there are many people paying taxes for decades, immigrants who have been here, or maybe the deferred action recipients who also came here when they were kids. So, what would be for you to arrange all, because there are many different small topics in this big topic of immigration? What would be for you the best idea to fix this situation?
Well, the situation does need fixing. First of all, securing the border. We can't afford to have anybody else come in illegally. Absolutely. And then we take what has happened under Joe Biden, the Biden invasion, and we start working to send those people back to their homeland. The only way to save America, our homeland, is to send these people who've poured in unvetted. We don't even know where they're coming from. Some of the people we have captured have been known terrorists. And then millions of others have come through. We don't know where they're coming from, what their background is. They're coming from insane asylums, prisons. Some countries are emptying their prisons, sending them our way. We need to start with the dangerous people and start sending them back to their homeland. We cannot afford to take these people in. And I know it sounds harsh, but we can't afford to handle the 12 to 15 million people who poured in under Joe Biden to absorb them into our community. And that's why I believe to save America, we have to do that.
Would you give a path to citizenship to DACA recipients?
Well, I think we need to look at that. I believe that the Supreme Court ruled on that, and that's already been ruled. And so, being here illegally is being here illegally, and you have to go
Even though
through.
they
You have
came
to
here
go.
when they were kids?
You have to go through the right procedure. If we start to say, well, this law doesn't matter, but this law does matter, and this law doesn't matter, that's a slippery slope to a lawless America. And I feel like we're already in a lawless America. So things have to go through. People have to go through the legal route to become citizens. And when you go through the legal route, like Jeff's mother did, Jeff's grandmother did, and millions of other American citizens, you are an American citizen and we welcome you. But we can't have it where some people can come in illegally and others can't.
Let's talk about this topic that maybe you've been discussing as family for sure, which is related with abortion. So today, Governor Hobbs just signed to repeal the law from 1864, a law that in some moment you were supporting, you were calling other states to adopt similar laws. And what would be your position in this take now with this repeal of this law from 1864?
Well, my problem with that law is that there were no exceptions for rape and incest. There was an exception for the mother's life, and I believe in those three exceptions. I believe you have to have exceptions for rape, incest, and the mother's life. The Democrats are absolutely extreme on this issue. They won't settle for anything other than full abortion up until the moment of birth, and that is what Ruben Gallego is for. I don't know if he sat here and told you that, but he co-sponsored legislation to send hundreds of billions of our tax dollars, hundreds of billions of our tax dollars overseas to open up abortion clinics. That's not where Arizonans are. That's not where Americans are. He supports abortions up until the moment of birth. And I don't believe Arizonans are there. I believe Arizonans want the exceptions, three exceptions, and we have that now in our law. And we're going to be able to choose here when we go to the ballot box. This initiative that's going to be on the ballot in November is one written by Planned Parenthood, which will allow abortion up until birth. So the people of Arizona will have to decide.
24 weeks.
24 weeks, but that's what they say because they're always trying to trick people with these initiatives. But it would go right up until the moment of birth if the mother's health, and it doesn't state whether it's mental health or physical health. So anybody could say, look, this woman is stressed out, she doesn't want her baby, and right up until the moment of birth. That is a fact in that piece of, in that initiative. Right now, it looks like we have 15 weeks. We have the law that we had up until about 3 weeks ago is now the law in Arizona. And so the voters will have to decide, will it be the 15-week law or will it be abortion right up until the moment of birth? I'm running for U.S. Senate. And so I don't get to vote on that other than I will have one vote just like you will and everybody out there watching when I go to vote on November 5th. But what I will do as a U.S. Senator is fight for families. In April of last year, I had the opportunity to go to Hungary. And I noticed as I was studying that country that they managed to bring down their abortion rate. They cut it nearly in half. And they never even changed one single law. They didn't touch the laws. What they did is they started supporting families and legislation. If you got married, they gave you a tax break.
There's also a control of, contraceptives on, educating people about the risks.
Right. But they gave you a tax break if you had a child. They gave you another tax break if you had more. Women in Hungary, after having 4 children, don't pay taxes ever again in their entire lives. We need more children. We need to grow families. Our population is actually on the decline. So we need to grow families. And more importantly, we need to support families. Our country is only as strong as the most important institution. And I know the way Jeff grew up in his family with his beautiful mother and grandmother from Colombia, family was everything. Family is the heart of the community. Family is the heart of our country. And our families are struggling right now. And they're struggling because of Democrat policies. And yet Democrats have been tricking people into thinking they're for the family and they're not.
So, Jeff, would you agree on any circumstances to have an abortion, like incest, rape? Would you agree having an abortion under those circumstances?
Yeah, the three exceptions, yes.
You will be all that the same.
But again, Jeff has one vote. I have one vote.
Yeah, but at the end, sometimes
What I will
voters
say
are
this.
following the ideas
What
of
I
the
will say
politicians.
this is when I get to the U.S. Senate, we fought very long and hard to have the states decide this. When I get to the U.S. Senate, I will never vote to spend a penny of tax dollars to fund abortions, and I won't vote to federalize abortion, an abortion ban. And so I think it's important. Ruben Gallego wants to take your hard-earned tax money that you pay into. Like I said, he supported $300 million in supporting abortions here, and hundreds of millions to open up abortion clinics all around the
Planned
globe.
Parenthood.
Apparently,
You mean Planned Parenthood?
no, he supported, he wrote legislation to spend hundreds of millions to open up abortion clinics in other countries around the globe. This is crazy stuff. First of all, we shouldn't be spending our money that way. Second of all, I don't believe that's what the American people want or the people of Arizona.
There was a moment that you supported the 1864 law, or you were not supporting that law. There was
I am personally pro-life, and I can't imagine in any circumstance that I would have an abortion. But that being said,
with these three exceptions.
with that being said, when Jeff and I got married and had our kids, those kids were planned. We couldn't wait to welcome Ruby into our world, Leo into our world. And I will tell you this, you ask any mother out there what her greatest achievement is and her greatest joy, even if she was the most successful career woman on the planet, if she was wealthy, whatever, her most amazing joy and accomplishment is her children. And I just want to make sure that women know they have options. The left lies. Ruben and the Democrats lie. They say that they're pro-choice, but when a woman who's afraid walks into an abortion clinic, she's given one choice, and that choice is abortion. I want women to know that when they go into an abortion clinic, they can choose life. There's help for them if they're financially struggling. There's adoptive services. There's parenting classes. There's so much help out there. And I want them to know that there really are better choices. And I will go to Washington, D.C. and be the most pro-family, pro-mother, pro-baby senator this country's ever seen.
Good. Let's talk about elections. How did you live together the election for governor that eventually Kari Lake, well, there was a difference of 17,000 votes. How did you live that? How was for you? So the battle, did you think that the election was stolen from Kari Lake?
Well, there were a lot of issues, a lot of problems. And yes, I mean, as you can see, as you've read, and if you've read the real news, that there are lawsuits that are still open on this.
Mhm.
So, what can I say? We continue to fight. And all of the policies that she ran for as governor, she's applying as senator as well.
So do you still thinking that the election was stolen from Kari Lake?
Yeah, we had major problems in 22. I mean, let me ask you, Leon, do you think it's okay that 2/3, 60% of all of the voting centers had equipment that didn't work, had 4-hour lines, had printers that were printing the wrong image? I think anybody out there doesn't think that's right.
Yeah.
We need election day to run smoothly. A lot of people who are watching, I'm assuming, like my husband Jeff and many of your viewers, either they are from a country, then they came here to America, or they have mothers, fathers, grandparents, aunts, uncles who came here from other countries, and many countries that are not run well. You don't have to look far. Venezuela, Argentina, you don't have to look far. Cuba. These are countries when a dictator takes over or when elections start to become corrupt, the country falters, the country falls. And it doesn't take long. Your viewers understand what I'm talking about. If we have elections that are just theater where we go to vote and we know it doesn't matter who we vote for, they're going to pick who they want, that's a problem. All I want here in Arizona is to fight for election reform so that every legal vote counts, whether you are a Democrat, independent, Republican, it doesn't matter what party you're in. I want your legal vote to count. And right now we have major problems, and I'm working on fighting that. And I'll continue to fight for that.
How you can trust the same system that is going to be running in the election this election
Well,
that you don't trust?
Well, we're right now. We just had a great win today in court. Arizona Republican Party did in Supreme Court. I actually had my attorneys down in Tucson fighting in the appellate court for our case. There are people
Still
all
for the governor.
the original election case. We are still fighting to make sure that election laws are followed. All we want is for election laws to be followed. And we're going to have many cases that are continuing to move through right up until election day. But the difference in this election is it's a presidential election. President Trump's on the ballot. People are going to turn out to vote. And the other sad reality right now is that life has gotten so hard for Americans that we're watching as crime is soaring, the border's out of control, fentanyl crisis from the cartels and CCP pouring drugs and is killing a young generation. We're struggling so badly that I believe, and I know President Trump believes this, we're going to see a turnout unlike anything we've ever seen in American history. And I think it's going to be a lot harder for them. There's a reason they're trying to get President Trump ensnared in 4 different court cases in 4 different jurisdictions. They're trying to bring me down with court cases. There's a reason for that, because I don't believe they can cheat the way they have in the past.
Now that you mentioned fentanyl, it's a topic that I would like to address, which is super important, and I think one of the biggest crises,
Yes.
not just in Arizona, but in the country. But before going that, and keep in the topic of the election, because I was reading about this situation. In June 2023, Stephen Richer, Maricopa County recorder, sued you for defamation. He said that you accusing him of intentionally sabotaging the 2022 election by printing wrong-sized ballots and injecting 300,000 illegal votes into the Maricopa vote count.
Yeah.
So after that, what happened? You apologized? What was
No,
the
I
situation
didn't
with Stephen
apologize.
Richer?
I did not apologize. I said what I said. And now it's up to him to say, how did my words hurt you? How my words hurt him? My words didn't hurt him. I stand by what I said. He's the one who is saying I hurt him with my words, and it's up for him to prove that. There's no. This is a person, by the way, who has been trying to stop us from having our freedom of speech well before I ran for office. This is a person who helps run our elections, who ran a super PAC while I was on the ballot for governor. He ran a super PAC, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars to take my campaign down. That's unethical. And that's a problem. If you're running an election, you shouldn't be doing that. And for this case,
He's still at the charge.
for this case, he's hired about a dozen attorneys that are Obama and Soros-linked attorneys for this case. I ask you to really dig into his political background. So we're in court. We'll fight that. I can multitask. I can handle it. But nothing's going to stop the fact that the people of Arizona know that our elections aren't being run properly, and they demand that we have honest elections, because we're going to lose our country if we don't have honest elections.
There was a moment that you were Democrat and supporting Kerry in 2004 and 2008, Barack Obama, and you supporting Democrats?
I didn't support John Kerry.
You never were
No.
registered as Democrat?
I registered for 4 years as a Democrat. And it was because we had 2 little ones at home, and we were watching as George Bush, started the war in Iraq, and weapons of mass destruction, we were told, was the reason we had to go in. Then we turned out that that was a lie, and we were going to go into an endless war. And we took our chance that maybe this new guy on the scene would not be for war. Unfortunately,
what do you think about Obama now?
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
Do you think he failed the nation, or
I do think he did. But you know what? You're spending a lot of time, Leon, looking back. And let me tell you.
Trying to get the context, because
let me tell you where people are. I'm a mom, okay?
Yeah.
We're struggling. I don't know about you. You might make a great amount of money here, but we're struggling, and we're watching as our borders wide open, our economy. We are seeing record inflation. And my opponent, Ruben Gallego, voted for legislation which caused our inflation to shoot up to a 40-year high. People can't afford to put groceries on the table. They're looking at the workplace, and jobs are being shaved off. Jobs are being shaved off. Then they're watching people pour into the country, taking jobs away from the people who are already here, driving down wages. Gas prices are on the rise. Crime is on the rise. Our streets aren't safe. Our schools are telling our little boys that they can be girls, and they're telling men that they can compete in women's sports, which, by the way, Ruben Gallego is for. He's okay with that. And you're asking me about a voting record from 2 decades ago? People don't care about that.
It's just
I
the
don't.
context.
I want to
I'm
tell
impressed
I
and
want to
I'm
tell
back
your
on the
audience one
politician.
thing. I don't care if you registered as a Democrat, Independent, Republican. If you're just a brand new voter, if you are a Democrat, I urge you to vote for me, vote for President Trump, vote for a strong economy once again. If you are a Democrat, I urge you, for the sake of your own, yourself and your family members, if you have a family, to vote for America First policies to secure our streets once again. Ruben Gallego is the most radical Democrat. He actually marched and defunded the police rallies. This is what people care about. People are struggling. They don't care about who voted for
I
who
think
20
people
years ago.
is struggling, but at the same time, people is trying to trust their political system who is running the election. So because
I would love
the
to
vote should
trust
be
it.
counted.
Yeah.
And I know you maybe don't trust the system that is running
The
the election.
majority of Arizonans don't.
There are many
The majority
polls,
don't.
and
87% of Republicans don't trust our elections, 66% of independents don't, and now we're over 50% of Democrats who say there's fraud in our elections.
But what
We
I'm
can
thinking
solve
is,
this problem.
because I'm watching the zoos that you've been doing April 2022. The Judge Tucci told you, well, that he's not going to tolerate false narratives that basically undermine public trust. So, you know, there are many. December 9, 2022, after Hobbs win and was certified, you file a new suit
Yep.
to
That's
overturn
that's
Hobbs.
you know that's
So you're still
that's
following those situations.
that is how much I care about this state. When they did what they did in our election, on election day, when they rolled out equipment that didn't work, they printed the wrong ballots, lines were 4 and 6 hours, and people couldn't vote. We had veterans crying on election day saying, I cannot believe I fought for this country and I could not cast my vote today. I decided to stand up and fight for fair and honest elections. And I'm not ashamed of that. I'm proud of it. I will continue to fight for that. It doesn't matter that an Obama judge ruled against us. It doesn't matter. What I'm trying to tell the people is that it's very important that we have honest elections. Meanwhile, I'm also going to fight for you. And you know that if I'm willing to fight and jump into the arena where we're on a subject that nobody wants to touch, that I'm willing to go to DC and fight for you. They tried to bribe me out of running for office, out of running for the US Senate, because people back east, powerful people back east in DC, didn't want an outsider, much like Donald Trump, who's going to fight for the people. I'm not controlled by lobbyists. Ruben Gallego is married to a lobbyist. He walked out on his wife when she was days away from giving birth to his firstborn son, his firstborn baby. He walked out, served her with divorce papers, and ran off with the DC lobbyist. That kind of a person will run off on Arizona, and he already has. You look at his voting record, he doesn't care about Arizona families, Arizona businesses. Nobody votes for $1 trillion tax hike. At the same time, voting for 87,000 new IRS agents, tax collectors, to go knocking on your door and try to squeeze more taxes out of you. This is a guy who's owned by the lobbyist. He's literally sleeping with a lobbyist.
I would like to ask you the last question about the election.
You know what? It'd be really nice. It'd be really nice if you ask questions besides this, because
I'm going to ask you different questions.
because the
Let me
people
just
of
ask
the
this last
people of
question.
Arizona and your viewers
I
actually
understand.
they care
You
deeply
being in
about
my
the
side
economy.
and you like to do the questions and have the answers.
Well, I'm
being in
I'm
my
a little
side.
bit surprised because you've asked me now 5 questions about elections, if I'm counting right.
Yeah, because I'm still trying to see what is happening, how you're still battling, and I understand.
I
You
am
explained
battling
it.
and I continue to battle.
And you said that you're going to accept the results in the governor election if you win. So that didn't happen officially. What you're going to be doing
We're
if
still
you
in
lose
court.
the election
Literally,
versus Gallego?
literally on my way here, I was listening as my attorneys were in the appellate court arguing our case still. And so we're going to just push to have a reform in our elections. And listen, I want to talk directly to the viewers of this channel. It's really a shame that we typically get journalists who are propagandists. They want to beat one drum. It's the leftist drum. And I know that many of you have come from countries where you saw this kind of propaganda on your television sets. I ask you to wake up, clear your eyes from the lies that the media is telling. I am a fighter for the people
I think that your
of
thing is
Arizona.
promoting hate. Well, I saw a commercial with you with a hammer punching TVs, and I was so
That's right. That's right, because that's
and
that's
people
how
were attacking media. So because
The media
watching this
lies.
kind
The
of
media
commercials,
is, we've never
you think all
seen,
media lies.
we've never seen the media in this country stoop so low. They created a story, a false story about Russiagate, about President Trump colluding with Russia. It was all lies. And they spread that story for 8 years like a drum. Every single day they lied to us. They've lied about President Trump. They've lied about his family every single day. Meantime, when Joe Biden's son has a laptop that is full of crimes committed and evidence and proof, they lied about that. And they continue to lie. So I urge people watching, turn the news off. Turn it off and don't watch. You're going to be more educated if you're not watching the news because you're going to get nothing but propaganda.
Finally, LGBTQ community. Do you support this community and companies who are supporting the Pride parade? Is something that you support, or you disagree with LGBTQ plus community?
I have many friends who are gay and lesbian, and I support them having rights just like I support every other American. That's exactly how I feel
And
about it.
transgender.
What I would say about this, though, is I find it appalling that we don't have, I'd rather have a month that we celebrate veterans. You know, we have Pride Month for a month. We have one day to celebrate our veterans. And those people who have been willing to lay down their life, I think they deserve a lot more. And so I'm going to fight for our veterans, and I'm going to fight for all American citizens. I don't care who you're in love with. And listen, all I want to do is keep it out of the classroom. Right now, Katie Hobbs and Ruben Gallego, they're for starting sex education in kindergarten. If you're a teacher, you shouldn't be talking about that kind of stuff with our little ones. And I think that the people out there agree. Let's keep some innocence with our children. Let's keep some of that stuff out of the classroom. Let's fly the American flag in the classroom and not the pride flag. Let's celebrate our country, which is the greatest country in the world.
What would you do for education, to improve education in Arizona, which is being in last years?
Well, first of all, I want education to remain at the state level and get the federal government out of it. One thing I want to do, and I push this as governor, is I want to start pushing for trade skill training and career certification right there in high school, at 10th grade level, so our kids can get out of high school ready to take on the high-paying jobs. That needs to be done at the state level. What I will do is tame the federal government from getting involved in every aspect of our schools. And I will introduce legislation to start a new program called Quick Vouchers, which will allow any high school student who graduates from high school to obtain a $5,000 grant to go off and get started learning a trade, getting career certification so that they can actually go out and get the real jobs that are out there, high-paying jobs that are out there, not a college degree, many of which, not all, but many of which are worthless and end up with our kids being saddled with $70, $80, $90,000 in debt. And we're seeing what's happening on these college campuses right now.
Do you agree with the program vouchers right now to go through from a public school to a private school?
Absolutely, 100%.
Do you think it's not damaging the public system?
I think,
that it should
no,
be on the Constitution?
I think what it's doing, Leon, is, first of all, it is not the Constitution. The tax money.
To have a public education.
No, that's not in our
K-12.
no, that's not in our Constitution. You need to read our Constitution. We pay taxes for education. Those taxes are not earmarked for a public school. They're earmarked for a student. So if you want to send your student to a Catholic school, a religious school, you want to homeschool them, you want to send them to a charter school or a public school, the fastest way to improve some of these failing government-run schools is competition. If you have a government-run school that's failing, and you say, look, we're taking our son out. We don't like that they're teaching this transgender ideology. We don't like that they're not teaching math. We don't like that nobody can read or they can't read to the proper level they should be able to. We're taking our son out and we're putting him over here. Guess what's going to happen? That government-run school is going to watch as people leave. And they're going to have two choices. They're either not going to be able to survive or they're going to have to change up the curriculum. So that families do want to send their kids there. So the fastest way to improve those schools is with competition.
What is coming for you in the next months? It's going to be a very tight battle. So the recent polls was giving, little numbers of difference between Gallego and you.
Yep.
What's going to be your challenge, or what you're going to be doing to attract more voters to win this election?
I'm going to continue to do what I always do, which is talk about the issues that we're facing, talk about common sense solutions. We can build the wall, secure our border, stop people from pouring across from 170 different countries. Hundreds of thousands of men from China have come into our country. What are they doing here? They're not here with families. This is not huddled masses. These are fighting age men pouring into our country. This is unacceptable. We no longer want to take terrorists from other countries and people who are coming here unvetted. So we're going to secure the border. And most importantly, and one of the most important parts of that, we're going to stop the fentanyl from pouring across. I've talked to so many mothers and fathers and grandparents who've lost children, 19, 20, 21, right around our kids' age, to a pill, a half a pill, fentanyl poisoning. That is a weapon of mass destruction. We spent $20 trillion fighting a war in Iraq, lost thousands of people. Citizens were killed in the Middle East that didn't need to be killed. And we fought a war over a weapon of mass destruction that didn't exist. When we have a weapon of mass destruction pouring into our country right now, and we're not doing anything about it, we're going to stop that. And then we're going to get to work taking these lives that are living on our streets. Ruben Gallego's district has the fastest growing homeless population in the country. His district is in shambles, and that's what he wants for the whole state. We're going to get busy helping to get those people into rehab and turning them into contributing citizens, because God did not envision any one of us living in a tent on the street with a needle in our arm. So we're going to get really busy turning this nightmare around and actually reviving America so that our kids, your daughter, my kids, can live the American dream. It's out of reach right now. My daughter told me, and she's a great daughter, we're so proud of her. We were at dinner the other night, and she said, I did the math, Mom, and even if I work every waking hour, I still won't be able to save enough money to buy a home. America shouldn't be that way. If you're willing to work hard, do the right thing, pay your taxes, you should be able to live the American dream. And so we're going to work to give that American dream back to the Americans are here and make America once again safe again, prosperous again, and secure again, and great again.
Finally, President Trump endorsed you and endorsed you before the governor election. Do you think that endorsement helped you or damaged you in order for you to win or lose the election?
I
And
think
what would be in this case for the future election?
I am honored to have President Trump's endorsement. He's one of the finest men that I've ever met. Jeff and I know him very well. I talk to him at least once a week, sometimes more than that. Talked to him a couple days ago. Our relationship's never been closer. He cares deeply about Arizona. He knows we're at ground zero for so many of the big issues. And I can't wait to get him back in office to turn this nightmare around. We were all doing better when President Trump was in office. Our streets were safer. Our kids could ride their bikes down the street, play in the front yard without us worrying. Our economy was thriving for every class of citizen, whether you were white, Hispanic, Black, Asian, didn't matter. Everyone was doing better. Inflation was at a record low, and our economy was thriving, and we were safe. So we're going to get back to that. I'm thrilled to have his endorsement. And not only that, I'm looking forward to voting for him. My entire family is going to vote for him. And
Are you going to win the election?
And we're going to win the election, yes.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Jeff, apoyando a tu esposa en este proceso como familia, como senadora que busca hacer, ¿qué es el soporte o el soporte que le das a ella para que se vaya a notar en otras familias que puedan tener éxito y puedan tener familias sanas, seguras, con acceso a una vivienda, libres de la inseguridad en las calles, de las drogas? ¿Cuál sería esta clave como familia que tienen ustedes para salir adelante?
Pues, como dice, apoyando completamente, ¿sí? Y no, solo con los hijos, todo lo que ella dice, o sea, lo que ve ahora enfrente de la cámara es lo que ella es detrás de la cámara. No hay diferencia. Y como ella habla sobre todos los problemas que tenemos, las soluciones que tenemos aquí para salvar este estado y este país, es increíble. Y durante el tiempo que ella estaba enfrente de la televisión, era lo mismo, ella era la misma persona y así podía conectar con la gente que veía los programas. Y creo que eso translates mucho en lo que ella está diciendo ahora. Pues es la verdad, completamente. Y ahí es el movimiento.
¿Quién manda en la casa?
¿Quién?
Who rules at home? ¿Quién manda en la casa?
Pues en español no sé cómo es, pero en inglés es happy wife, happy life. ¿Sí? Así
Esa es la clave.
Sí.
Gracias por estar con nosotros. Se
Sí.
los agradezco. Thank you,
Gracias.
Jeff. Thank you, Gary Lake.
Gracias.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Yes. This is just a couple of
I will,
shots.
yeah, I will say this. I do wish you would have asked more questions that pertain to people. If you look at, I look at polling. I understand where the people are. They don't care about most of those questions you asked about. Very few
You
of them.
think?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I understand. You ask what you want, but 4 or 5 questions on one topic, and you didn't ask how we're going to get through this outrageous inflation. We just had
Well, you were
economic
mentioning.
we just had economic numbers that came out that were dismal. We are atrophying right now. Our economy can't take it much longer. We're on the verge of our dollar collapsing. If that happens, we're going to go third world country here. And the media is just stuck on the stupidest stuff that doesn't matter to people. People are worried about their personal safety. They're worried about paying the bills, surviving right now. And the media is,
I understand. That's a fact.
yeah,
I disagree with media sometimes being the same. You know what I mean?
I think I understand more than the average person because I worked in it for 30 years. I might even be older than you.
Not that much.
How long have you been in TV? Broadcast.
27 years.
Okay,
But I spent many
get it.
years in Mexico.
Okay.
Mostly as a reporter.
right.
And I'm going
And-
just
and the
12
pro-
here.
and
But
the
I
problem
have
is-
been mostly 27 years on TV. I'm 51 years old.
And the problem is that most news outlets only employ the majority of liberals and leftists, pure leftists. I know it. I worked in the newsroom for a long time. It got to the point where 98% of the people are liberal. And I'm not saying you can't have that ideology. It should be balanced. We're more worried about the color of someone's skin than what their ideology is. And that's why you
Totally
get the slant.
I totally agree.
And you get the slant. And then you look at 5 corporations owning the media, and they're pushing their corporate slant, which is in many cases globalism. And globalism is the death of America. And frankly, it's the death of humanity, to be real honest.
I know the world is in a difficult
and
complicated
that's why I
position
took that's why I
politically.
took I had a problem with your
40%
questions.
40% of the planet is going to vote. And 40%, though, that from that 40% of the planet who's going to be voting this year,
They don't want the WEF. They don't want the Soros plan. They don't. I guarantee you, the world does not want that. And guess who's
the world is changing.
guess who's endorsed by Soros in this race? Is it me or is it Ruben Gallego? It's Ruben Gallego. This is the same guy who's behind a lot of these lawsuits, these First Amendment lawsuits, including the one I'm being subjected to, the censorship. This is the one that's behind, it's Soros-linked groups who are behind this unrest on our college campuses right now. We own those college campuses, we the people. The people of Arizona own ASU. It's our school. And Soros and his groups are funding this absolute chaos on our campuses right now. Where Jewish students can't walk around safely. This
Yes,
is a
the situation is
insidious,
getting difficult.
insidious situation. And Soros also has his fingerprints in the media and the biased media. And he's got his fingerprints in our elections. And he's got his fingerprints on certain candidates. It's a very big problem and it needs to be looked into. It needs to be covered, but I don't think people in the media have the courage to do that, unfortunately.
Sometimes it's about time. Sometimes,
Well,
news
you know what?
happen very quick,
We're-
but we are trying to
time
cover
is
most
time
as
is
much as I
running
can.
out. Time is running out for America. We have 6-7 months to save it, and it's imperative that you start covering this stuff. That all of you guys do. I mean, you guys behind the camera. I know that most of the camera guys are more conservative because they're out there working their butt off, looking at their paycheck. They maybe don't make as much as you. Going, how am I going to get by? I can't even pay the rent this month. And this doesn't have to happen. This is socialist Democrat policies destroying our country. And Ruben Gallego is a far left Chicago Democrat who's rolling into Arizona trying to act like he understands the state. He's pro-open borders. He's pro-crime on the streets. He's anti-police.
They're from Illinois as well.
I was born there, yeah. I've lived here for 27 years. He comes from a far left family, and it's concerning because the same things that so many people who escape Latin America over, who escape these 170 different countries, he is about bringing to America. The same ideologies that caused the collapse of so many countries that many of your listeners and viewers have come from or their families have come from.
Don't worry
Ruben,
that we're gonna have
Ruben
a
wants
good
to
outcome
take,
from this interview.
he wants to take our country down that road, and it's frightening.
We're gonna have Ruben Gallego. I'm not gonna be doing the interview.
Well, you should, because now you know a little bit about him.
I
Pleasure.
interviewed. My pleasure.
Pleasure to meet
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Pleasure was mine.
We're gonna wait for you for
I
the
hope
next
it's
time.
edited
Thank you, Jeff.
fairly. Are you
Thank
editing
you.
it?
Mucho gusto.
I cannot pronounce it. Maybe
Oh.
Arturo. So I'm gonna call you
That's
Jeff.
all right.
Arturo, make it fair.
Thank you so
Don't
much.
let him slant
Thank you.
this.
Arturo is the one who's
Appreciate it.
coming over there, and he's the boss. The big boss.
Arturo,
Arturo's the big boss.
I'm totally disappointed in that interview. It
Why?
was all about stories and questions that the average voter doesn't care about. Not a single question about inflation, how families are getting by, no question about the crime that people are worried about, no question about the wide open border and the danger that that shows.
I'm trying to understand you because my English is horrible. But he is,
You want to tell him in Spanish what I just said?
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I understand. He said that, she said that, sorry.
Las preguntas.
Las preguntas que no le hizo las preguntas de inflación.
Las
Sí,
preguntas que
la
le interesaban eran
economía.
inflación, economía, la frontera abierta, y me enfoqué más en
Zero-
los temas de las elecciones.
Zero
Que no le
questions,
gustó.
zero questions on how the economy and how difficult the economy is for families, but a question
We'll
on
address
if
it.
I support LGBTQ Pride Month. I don't think that the
That's-
I don't think the mom and dad out there who can barely put food on the table give two hoots about that. Not right now.
I think they do, because there are moms as you that they believe that that topic is not as important as other ones, and when their kids are speaking about it, they say, well, there are more important things to talk, or they need to
I
get
think
in the direction
I
that
think
the
feeding your
family-
family is more important.
Yes.
I agree.
And
Well,
being able
economy
and,
is
and
sec-
not having
economy is
not
the thing.
and the crime is out of control.
I'm working here for 21 years
Okay.
and I see you on the TV station. I'm sorry, my English is horrible, but
I just hope it's a fair interview because I felt that I came into an agenda. Does that make sense? ¿Cómo se dice agenda?
That we do have an agenda.
Hmm.
You think
I
we
felt
do
that
have?
with the line of questioning.
I don't think so. Well, I'm trying
Yeah.
to be as professional as I can.
Well, you're professional. I mean, you didn't swear or curse, but it's about the questions that are asked. It tells me where this is going.
One of the things, Ms. Lake, is we don't dictate what they're gonna be asking. I'm the producer.
Maybe
So
you should start and tell them to make it more fair.
You brought the idea of having your husband last time.
Yeah.
I was not here. I was arranging the interview, but I had something to do, so I was not here. But we wanted to, because we thought it was nice to have your husband who has Latino roots and
Yeah.
kind of go along that, but at the same time, you're still a candidate, and we need to address. But no,
Well, thank you for the point of view.
I just think,
I don't dictate what is gonna.
the beef people make with
ask.
me is that I only talk about past elections. I didn't bring it up, and you did 4 or 5 questions, maybe 6 on that, and 0 on the economy.
You were talking about economy for a while.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's because I had to bring it over to Leon.
And
Let's
I have,
get with something.
But I have what it's
Okay.
gonna be airing.
But Ms. Lake, this is not
We're gonna
gonna
have something.
It's not gonna be the last interview. I hope.
Well, I don't know if I want to do another one if we're just going to talk about.
Because you wanna speak. I mean,
Yeah.
we still have a long way until November, so there's plenty of time to have more.
I just hope that between now and November, Leon gets out with the real people out there that are struggling and understands where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have, because the line of questioning that you just asked me, I don't think you're out there with the real people.
I disagree. I thought that my questions were important and fundamental, but I
Right.
respect your point of view, for sure.
Great.
But thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
guys.
How's